have to do with children.
Colder?
Yeah, I think it's colder underwater probably than above water.
It takes practice for students to develop the ability to participate in discussion, and it also takes practice for instructors to lead discussions well. You can build your own discussion leading skills while you support your students building the skills they need to participate actively in discussions. Participating in discussion, especially in whole groups, requires specific social skills like accurate listening, putting your thoughts into words, and taking turns. It's important to explicitly tell students they'll be developing these discussion skills, and then take time to explain each one. Start students out talking in pairs with a routine like walk and talk, and pay attention to their abilities to engage in discussion.
As we're walking and talking, I'll give you a question. Walk and talk with the person next to you about that question. Woo! Come on, go.
Yeah, go down.
Yeah, go on down, go on down, this one down. Yeah. And now high five your new partner. Put your hand on your head if you can hear my voice. Anyone not have a partner? Okay, that's your next question, is someone's question that they had. What lives here? What kind of animals, plants, creatures might live in this forest? You can look around and try and see if you see any evidence of things living here too. Walk and talk.
Students cannot have an active discussion without first becoming good listeners. To encourage listening, be sure to ask students to share what their partner said before sharing their own thoughts. If talking and sharing ideas becomes a regular part of how your students interact early on, they will be better prepared to engage in a large group discussion later on. Work up from pairs to small group discussions. When you think your students are ready for it, try leading a whole group discussion. When you're leading a whole group discussion, students, especially younger ones, need a lot of patience to listen as one person at a time talks. So mix in opportunities for students to turn and talk in pairs. An occasional turn and talk during a whole group discussion breaks it up and provides opportunities for every student to share ideas and to talk through their thinking. Talking out ideas with a peer will make students more likely to share thoughtfully in the large group.
Turn and talk to the person next to you, whether you agree with that statement or not, and say why you agree or you disagree with that statement.
That thing used to be alive.
Yeah, and then it's like a cycle.
Make sure students get plenty of time to directly explore their own interests in nature.
Go find cool stuff.
Look at the back. On the inside's like, and like on here, there's like, I don't know what it is. Fungus or
Through open-ended exploration, interesting observations, questions, and dialogue can come up, which then can lead to further discussion about things students are really interested in. Instructors need to focus on developing their own skills for leading discussions by using activities designed to engage students in productive talk, listening closely to student ideas, developing a few skills at a time, and consulting other teaching resources. You can develop your ability to figure out what works best with different types of groups. If you don't have a lot of experience leading whole group meaning-making discussions with students, it's best to work up to them by first having students talk about their ideas in pairs. Start using paired discussions like turn and talk and walk and talk. Use them a lot. Walk and talk can help ease you into whole group discussion skills because it includes brief bits of whole group talk when students share some of what they talked about in pairs with the whole group. Push it beyond students just taking turns sharing, and practice using strategies to get an actual discussion flowing, with exchange of ideas and, most importantly, discussion about each other's ideas.
Ideas about how the leaf smell might be an adaptation to benefit the plant.
Some animals that would eat it, and they would keep them away because they wouldn't like the smell.
Maybe the animals that wouldn't eat it because they didn't like the smell? Go like this if you agree. Raise your hand if you got a different idea.
Practice asking broad questions, listening, asking follow-up questions, rephrasing students' responses, asking others to agree or disagree respectfully, helping everyone feel comfortable participating, and adding bits of content that stimulate further understanding and discussion.
It's taking away kind of the tree where it's sick, kind of.
Okay, so maybe it could be making it less sick or more sick. Alexis, did you have a different idea?
Oh, so you know of people taking poop and putting it into like compost to make soil and growing things out of it? So you're saying humans are decomposers because they eat things like cows and they poop them out and you can use that soil to grow things. Raise your hand if you want to respond to what he just said, or you want to add to it, or you want to disagree.
You need a variety of skills for leading productive discussions. Try focusing on one or two particular skills at a time. For example, if you want to get better at asking follow-up questions, you could write on your hand or an index card, "Ask follow-up questions," to remind you while you're teaching. You can also carry a card to remind you of some key questions to ask during exploration and discussion, such as, "What surprised you?" "How can you be more sure?" Or, "Hey, can you say more about that?"
Yeah, go ahead. Clues, okay. Can you say more about that?
For more on developing these skills, read these helpful documents, both of which can be found through the Support for Instructors section of the BEETLES website. Watch some of the BEETLES student activity videos to see discussion in action. When you feel ready, try leading a whole group discussion about an interesting found object, an organism, or a natural process. Prepare some interesting broad questions to kick off the discussion and other questions to keep discussion rolling and to guide it toward conceptually rich pathways. Be flexible. Always search for what is of interest to the students. Find out their existing ideas on the subject and explain how the discussion topic relates to useful concepts. Be ready to shift if a question flops or if unanticipated interesting ideas pop up. Be prepared for the conversation to be bumpy or uneven at first. That's okay. It can be challenging to orchestrate a meaningful discussion with students about science ideas. This requires some practice, but it's so worthwhile. It's a crucial skill to develop to be able to give students the best possible science learning experiences. Try it. Reflect back on how it went. Think about how you might lead it better, and then try again. The discussion map is another tool to help you lead discussions. Start off with an interesting broad question that's related to what you want students to learn.
What might be the benefits? How might that be an adaptation for a plant to have such a strong smell? And how could a plant have ended up getting such a strong smell?
What do you guys think? Living or dead wood, and why? Okay, I'm hearing some living over here. Anyone have? Both, okay. Why do you think both? Why do you think? Who can say why? Henry?
Because the dead trees, they're rotting away, so they're easier to eat.
Anyone have a disagreement or a different idea? Yeah.
I have a bit of both, but I think it might be living.
Okay.
Because trees need water to live, so there would be a water supply.
What I know about bark beetles is that they often go into trees and eat living trees, and they often go in and eat the wood of trees that are either sick or on their way out, that are dying. So how do you guys think that bark beetle presence, carving all those tunnels, how does that affect the trees that they're doing that to? How could that affect the trees? I want to give you a couple seconds to think before I see hands, okay?
Keep following that basic pattern, but not in a stiff or artificial way.
So it sounds like what we've talked about here is, the idea was, is everything that eats something else a decomposer? And then somebody said,
do your best to keep discussions connected to important conceptual ideas. Be authentic, be present, flexible, inclusive, and genuinely curious about what students are saying. Try to get what they're thinking by listening carefully and probing them to explain their thinking. The most rewarding and fascinating discussions result when we engage with students authentically as people who share a curiosity about the world.
It walks both ways. Like it'll like crawl this way and then it'll walk forwards.
So that's something you should write down.
I say crawls backwards and forwards.
Nice.